My body is really missing some hot power yoga, just so you know. But one thing that a lot of people don't know about me is I'm trained in yin. My body is really tight, I think mostly because I'm watching TV, sitting on my couch more than moving around. So today we're going to do a yin class that I wrote. Some of my favorite moves in yin. We're going to start with a wall practice. A wall is great to get you in some really nice stretches. This is a long class, so make sure you have water, all the things, a mat, blocks. Blocks are great during yin, and also maybe a bolster. Let's get started. First, we're going to start with legs up the wall. You want to bring your hip all the way to the wall, come through and extend your legs straight up. We're going to be here for 5 minutes. So I like to start my timer. You always want to, I'll be timing you. So if you're doing it with me, you can always go back and forth with this video, but I will be timing all of the poses. If you hear me cry some, just ignore me. Yin is very painful for me. My dogs may walk in and out of the room, just ignore them. When you're in the poses, you want to concentrate on your breath, bringing air in and out. Through your nose. And telling your body, just let go. A lot of times our body wants to hold on because it's trying to protect itself. But just release. You could play music. I try not to play music on my videos because then it may not be picked up by YouTube. So play some music because all you're doing is breathing and holding this whole class. Breathing and holding. Maybe I could do some instrumental. I said we were going to hold this for 5 minutes, but legs up the wall, we're just going to hold for 3. The difference with yin yoga and normal yang practice is you hold the poses much longer. When you hold a pose over 2 minutes, you actually start changing tissue. And that's our goal, is to really try to change the makeup of what's making us tight. Right now I can't even do any kick-ups, a handstand, anything right now because my hamstrings are so tight. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna come into a straddle pose. So in this, you're just letting the legs fall open as much as they want and holding. We will hold this one for a full 5 minutes, just breathing. sometimes my legs will start to drop a little bit more the more I hold. Really finding your breath to try to deepen the pose. We're about halfway in right now. One more minute here, breathing, focusing. So a really great time to think about your meditation practice and releasing thoughts. Sometimes during this time, your body will try to tell your brain to stop. And it's really important to just tune into your breath. Continue wherever you are. If you need to back out of a pose, you can. You don't want to push yourself too far and over stretch or deepen too much too soon. So make sure you don't go all the way to your peak of the pose. Maybe gradually get there. Like during this straddle, my legs, I didn't start super wide, but as I've stayed here, my legs continue to drop a little bit more at a time. Now you're going to grab the backs of your knees and you're going to pull the legs in, and we're going to come right into Supta Baddha Konasana or butterfly. Also in yin, some of the poses have different names than they do in typical yang yoga. So you'll notice, and some have the same names. I like to call both, especially when I'm talking to more of a yang practitioner because they know. But if it's someone that really wants to tune into yin, I typically always use the yin terms. I've done 2 different yin trainings, so now I have about 300 hours in yin. I did a Bernie Clark inspired yin, and then I've also done a training with Bernie Clark, and I've also done a one with Paul Gilly. We're just going to be in this butterfly for 2 more minutes. This is kind of like our counter pose going into our next phase. One more minute here. Really deepening your breath. Paying attention to any tightness that may come up for you. Okay, now you're going to bring the legs in, and this is kind of an awkward pose. It's just a squat to the wall, but it can look very awkward. I always say it's having baby pose, but your legs are wide, and you're literally just doing a squat. I'm going to scoot a little bit closer to the wall. I start to slide. So if you're asking yourself to, say, do squats with actual weight, you're asking your body to come into this pose, and then you're asking your body to press weight. If you would just hold this, you can start to feel how much your body can endure in just a squat. While we're holding this, you will start to feel the lower back. So when people, I'm also a personal trainer, so and this is of course a lot deeper than you would go in a normal squat, but when you're asking your body to bear weight, this kind of gives you an understanding of what all your body has to go through in order to get that squat done. So if you're doing 4 sets of 20 squats, the next day you may be really sore, lower back pain, different things might come up, knees. This, when you do this to the wall, makes you understand why stretching is so important prior to any kind of load-bearing exercises. You'll start to feel the lower back, you'll start to feel the knees, inner thighs. We all feel different things. I always say your weakest link is where you're gonna find more pain or stretch or pull. There's 2 different types of pressure points in the body, compression and tension. If you start to feel this compression. Compression is like deep pain. It's almost like someone's taking a knife and stabbing you with the knife. Tension is more of a pain that you'll feel, and it just feels like, oh, if I hold this a little bit longer, I'm gonna get out of this. Or wow, I'm so tight, I need to do this more often. So those are the two feelings that you may find in this practice. If you start to feel compression, you know to immediately back out. You could always just go into one of those counter poses, or just relax on your mat until you feel better. Just paying attention to the different pain that you may feel in your body. Concentrating on your breathing. We're about 3.5 minutes in. Just a minute and a half to go. Oh, dog's bark. I have 3 dogs and a cat, and they start to linger in the more that I do, especially yin yoga. There's not a lot of movement, so they really enjoy it. 30 seconds here. Okay, so now we're going to take the legs, you're going to help your legs back up the wall, coming back to your legs up the wall for just a little moment here. I have my notes, sometimes I forget what I do. So we're almost done with our wall series. I call it pigeon to the wall. Some people call it figure 4 to the wall, different things. You want to make sure that the tailbone stays flat. If you start to pivot up, you've gone too far. You're going to take your left ankle over the right knee, flex the left foot, and push the left knee away. Then you're going to slowly start to drag the right foot down only as far as you can before your pelvis tilts up. So you want to keep the pelvis to the wall, or the tailbone to the wall, and no rotation tilting in the pelvis. So you can see how tight my body is. This is all I have. I know a lot of yoga teachers are hypermobile and super stretchy, but I am not. I was a runner for years in between my yoga practice, and I've never been extremely mobile. That's why yin is so important for me, to make sure that I check back in to my practice. It just prevents injury. Remember here to tune in to the different types of pain you may feel. I feel personally a lot of tightness in the left hip. I'm just kind of like pushing my left knee away from my body. We're going to be here for 4 minutes on each side. Hopefully one of them doesn't, oh, there's Scout. She's right from the camera. Come here, Scout. Scout. I'm still here in the middle of the doggies.
Ooh.
Two minutes in, 2 minutes to go. And another thing about yin, I may just periodically think of things that come up as we're here. It's really great to practice yin before yang class. So if you don't have 60 to 90 minutes to spend just doing this little wall practice, this wall series can really help prevent injury in your yang practice. And there you go. That will tend to happen often, so just bear with me. If you were looking for that tranquil yin class, this probably is not it. And it's really important also to keep the conversation going in yin, just so you're tuning into your body. You're tuning into any things that may be restricting you. So really think about the compression or tension that might be happening. All right, 4 minutes, so we're gonna go straight up the wall. A few seconds here. Right, now we're going to come to the other side. Right ankle, remember to flex the foot. It protects the knee when you're flexing. This side, I may not get as much as I did on the other. This is all I have. And I'm just pressing my knee away, flexing the foot, pelvis is down, no tilt in the pelvis. Every minute I can feel my body try to release the tension to get a little bit deeper in the pose. I'm still breathing deep inhales in my nose, exhale through the nose. We're almost 2 minutes in, 2 minutes to go. Thirty seconds. Let's release that. Legs straight at the wall. Now we're just going to do a little bridge up the wall. We're just going to come up. Just kind of holding just a few seconds here. And then slowly come down. Roll to your right side, and then slowly make your way up. Yeah, my hair's always crazy when I come back with that. Now we're going to move onto the mat in a different series here. So we're going to first begin with the pose that it's very mentally challenging for me. It's not a hard pose by any means. But I want to say that my Hoyan practice, and right now I'm just sitting in a hero's pose just to kind of balance out. But this pose is challenging for me. If I start to cry, I'm so sorry. Just a few more seconds here in hero's pose. Sorry I didn't cue that. Okay, we're gonna first come into a forward fold. So we're gonna come up to our feet. You're gonna hinge in your hips and you're just gonna let the head fall. My feet, you don't have to be super close. You could be hip width, just whatever feels good. You just wanna try to feel extremely bad about bearing weight in the balls of my feet. So you want to try to engage all four corners of your feet. So my toes are light. I'm kind of peeling them off the mat. I'm spreading them out, and I'm hinging in my hips. I cannot straighten my legs, and I'm just going to let my head fall. And just breathing in and out of your nose. But really actively think about, where do you bear weight in your feet? I have to really breathe through this. My legs may start to shiver and shake. This is when compression and tension is really important. So tune in. If you start to feel any kind of stabbing pain, just come seated. And then you can possibly come back into the pose. You have 30 more seconds. $15. Now we're going to heel toe it open, and we're going to come into a yogi squat. Modifications for this, you could always grab a block and sit on a block or your bolster. For me, I'm just going to be seated. My hair is crazy after being upside down. I had to take it out. Also, things that start happening for me is I get fluid in my ears. I have really bad allergies, especially this time of the year. And it gets all of that moving again. And just breathing in this yogi squat. My big toes are kind of pointed open a little bit. Some people also like to keep their toes forward. Just whatever is best for you. My triceps are kind of in my knees. I'm kind of like pressing into my knees. Knees are pressing into my triceps a little bit. Now the fluid's starting to come down for me. We're 2.5 minutes in, with 1.5 minutes to go. One minute. I'm counting it down. Just have to really breathe and focus, bringing the air in. My shins have been really sore here lately because I've been doing yoga outdoors, and there's a slope kinda, and I can really feel it in my legs and not being on a flat surface. Now we're going to come back into our forward fold. Bring the hands down, lift your hips, heel to in. It could be hip width, which is your fist in between, side by side, in between your feet. Just releasing the back of your neck. Let the head hang. Bend the knees as much as you need to bring your belly on your thighs. Hinging in your hips, make sure you're not hinging in the lower back. You can always take a block here for support if you need it. Tune into your breath. I'm finding myself move into the balls of my feet, so I'm going to think about all 4 corners of my feet. Make sure I'm not supinating, rolling in with my ankles. I'm trying not to pronate by rolling in or supinate by pressing out. Just finding all 4 corners. One more minute here. Thirty seconds. I have to really breathe in and out of my nose. Heel tilt out, coming into your yogi squat. Yes. Coming back here. 4 minutes here. Breathe. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Try and get my clock to set up. Breathe. Just let it down. One minute. have water. Just know that you can sip water if you need it. Now we're going to come into a hero's pose. So we're going to come onto our knees. Like I said earlier, you can always take a block and sit on a block here and just kind of releasing all of that we just did. Deep breaths here. I didn't realize how tight or sore the fronts of my legs are from being on a slope. So I'm around a pool doing yoga and it's sloped, you know, when it's on that surface, and really sore. So this is helping so much. And this is also a saddle pose in yin. Now we're going to come down to the mat. So I was on my block. Now we're going to take a straddle here. Even after doing all that work, I still suffer from tightness. So we're going to take a straddle. You can even like come out a little bit more if you need to. Remember to think about the pressure that you may be feeling, tension or compression. So don't go out too far right now. You can always get deeper into this pose. We're going to take our straddle to the right side. So I'm not going to go as far down. You can even take a bolster here. You can take a bolster and kind of bring it here on the belly just to kind of give you something to hold on to. I'm going to come, for me, I'm just going to come down, stretching my heart forward. Depending on your forearms or not. Like I said, you don't want to go all the way into the peak of the pose. You may have to back out. Don't start at the top. Remember, work your way up. We've got 3 minutes on this side. I'm going to add a block just underneath my forearm here. Like I said, I've been really tight. I'm going to make sure my toes are staying up. I'm not wanting them to roll into the center. You can't really see my toes, I don't think, in the video. I'm pretty tall, so my wingspan is pretty long. I'm gonna get a little bit deeper. We're a minute and a half in. I'm going to get to the deepest point of this, the fullest expression that I have. Now we're going to take a little bit of a oblique stretch, a side stretch here. We're just going to take the arm up and over. You can hold it here. You can grab the foot. Go ahead and grab it. I'm just going to bring mine like halfway in the beginning. We're just going to be 2 minutes in this nice side stretch. If you have a block, you can even bring a block here and kind of like apply pressure to the block, holding if it's too much. One more minute here. Ten seconds. And then slowly come up. Nice and slow. Okay, now we're going to come to the other side. Again, remember you can always have a holster here if you need it. We're going to reset. And whenever you're ready, I don't have as much on this side. When I was younger, I was a cheerleader and I really damaged my left leg through that experience. So just being gentle with yourself. Also keeping tuned in to your compression or tension. Can't really see the screen. I can't see that far. So I don't think you can see my bead. I totally forgot about my dogs. Sadie's trying to make her way back in here to me. try, we only have a minute left, so I'm gonna try to get a little bit deeper on this side. Let's see what my body will allow. It's still all I have. So you can go somewhere else. Okay, now we're gonna come into the side stretch. So I'm gonna take my block here. I'm just gonna reach up and over. And I'm keeping my right leg down. One more minute here. If you get it a little bit deeper, you can. If you're like me, and this is all I really have. I am kind of down on my left forearm, which is really good for me. And then slowly come up. Now I'm going to take the stretch to the center. Again, blocks are great for this. If you don't have much mobility, it can just be here. Remember, you want to work into it. You don't want to begin at your peak or fullest expression of the pose for a front straddle. I reminisce about the days I could do like a Chinese split, toe touch to Chinese split. Those days are not there for me anymore. But through yoga, I don't have as much pain, or I haven't had surgeries that I would probably have to have. Now I'm going to get a little bit deeper here. My body always tells me though when it's time to deepen my practice, and that's what yin does. It really helps you deepen your practice. We're just going to be here 3 minutes. And again, this is a practice that I wrote based upon my body and my needs. But if anyone needed something different for different pains that they may have, just reach out and coordinate something for you too. slowly make your way up. I'm just gonna take my blocks to the front of my mat. I'm gonna lift up my knees and bring my legs in. And I'm just gonna windshield wiper my legs back and forth. So I'm just kind of putting pressure on my hands and just kind of rotate it back and forth, and this kills me. After all of that. Okay, now we're gonna come on to our stomach. So I'm just gonna drag my legs around to the back, coming up. We're gonna lay flat. And you're gonna bring your forearms through for a Sphinx. My heels are rotated up, and I'm just letting my shoulders draw down my back, feeling the curvature in the spine. If this is too much, you can always bring a block in, kind of help bring it here, or you can even kind of bring it here a little bit more if you need a transition into the pose. This is the full expression. You can even bring a bolster in underneath the ribs to kind of give you a little bit more support. For me, I'm just going to use the full expression of the pose. Find what works best. Setting my timer, I always forget sometimes to set it. We're going to be here for 3 minutes. And my chin is slightly tucked here too. Just kind of breathing. I'm trying to pull my chest open through the clavicle. Shoulder blades are down my back, pressing through my forearms, finding my fingers. Heels are up towards the sky. When your heels are rotated up, it kind of fires up your glutes just a little bit, which helps support the lower back. If you're all splayed in the heels, you can kind of feel a little tension in the lower back. So try not to splay in your heels. Trying to make her way towards me. Okay, now you're going to come down and you're just going to take one arm over the other, bend your knees, and we're just going to kind of windshield wiper the feet back and forth. Now, whatever hand is on the top, replace it with the hand that's on the bottom. more seconds here. Slowly release, and you're gonna come back up into a tabletop. In this tabletop, we're just gonna take a few cat-cows here. Inhale cow and exhale cat. Just kind of moving the spine back and forth. Now we're going to take a dragon series. So you can have your blocks handy and bolster beside you. I'm going to bring my bolster in here just in case I need them. The blocks are on each side. Now I'm just going to step my right foot forward, and we're going to come into baby dragon. So if we were in yang class, we would call this lizards. For baby dragon, you can have your hands on your knee. You could even have blocks here, just kind of holding this. Now my right foot for this is all the way over to the right edge of my mat. So I'm not in the center of my mat. My foot's over. This kind of helps a little bit more in the hip area. And I'm bringing my knee in front of the ankle slightly, which is a opposite cue of what we say in yang class. Typically in yang, you want to keep the knee in line with the ankle because you don't want to injure yourself because you're kind of moving in and out of stuff pretty fast. In yin, it's just a way to kind of deepen a little bit more in the inner thighs. So I'm just kind of pulling my knee forward slightly. I forgot to set my timer. There you go. Nuts if they hear anything. And it's just us here, so they're highly protecting right now. They're in their security mode. Now we're going to come into low flying dragon. Again, if you have your blocks, keep them accessible. So low flying dragon, you're going to come down. You can stay here on your hands, or you can come to your forearms. If you can't come all the way to your forearms, you might want to take your forearms to blocks. You can even have them at the higher level if you want it here. I'm going to bring mine all the way down to my mat. Again, this is low flying dragon. Now we're going to come into winged dragon. No, I'm sorry, twisted dragon first. So I'm just going to take my hand to my right leg and I'm just going to rotate around. Now, if you have the availability, you might bend your knee, reach back, grab the foot. You don't have to. And then I'm kind of bringing this also into a winged dragon because I'm letting my right knee fall open here. Now, I'm going to release my foot. I'm going to bring my hands down and we're going to come into a fire breathing dragon. So I'm going to move this more just slightly. So I'm gonna tuck my toe under, lifting my knee up, and I'm coming onto my forearms for full expression of the pose. You can always gradually make your way into this. If you need your blocks, or you can stay on your hands. If it becomes too much, just lower the left knee down. And I'm not winged, I'm pulling my right knee in here to my right shoulder. Just a few more seconds, breathe. And release. All you're gonna do is just step the right foot back. We're gonna come down on the belly, cross the arms, like that crocodile stance, and just windshield wiper the feet back and forth. Reverse your hands. And then you're just gonna release, and we're gonna come onto the other side. So let's come back up into a tabletop. You wanna take some cat-cows, you can cat-cow here. Now I'm gonna bring my left foot forward. Again, I'm bringing it all the way over to the left edge of my mat. We're gonna find baby dragon first. So I like to use blocks for this one in the beginning. Again, my knee is just slightly in front of my ankle, not much. But there is a pose in that comes completely forward in the dragon series. But right now we're just finding the slight movement forward. My dogs are just barking, and there's nothing here. Sometimes if I hear a truck pass in front of the house, that's all they need. Now I'm going to slowly bring my hands down to the mat. Again, my left foot's on the outside of my left pinky finger. Now we're going to come into that low flying dragon. I'm going to come down on my forearms. Remember, use your blocks if you need it. Now we're going to come into that twisted. So you can kind of like rotate around. And you can stay right here. You can even bring your hand into your lower back if you wanted. You can even bend your knee, reach back and grab the foot if you have availability. I'm going to add that winged dragon. I'm going to open up that left knee. Release the foot if you have it, and just bring it down, still practicing winged dragon, just letting the left knee fall open. Now we're about to find fire breathing. So all I'm gonna do is tuck my toes under, stay where I am. I'm gonna pull this knee in and hold. Breathe. Fire breathing dragon. I'm tucking my chin slightly. I'm not letting my head drop below my heart, keeping the head up. And release. Bring the knee back. Now we're coming to supported fish with a butterfly, and we're almost about done with our practice today. So for supported fish, you can also use a bolster. I'm going to use a block, and I'm going to bring the block here. You can also bring the block this direction. I like mine here. You want it to be in the thoracic spine. Thoracic spine starts right about here. Don't go into the lower back in the lumbar, in the thoracic. So my block is going to be here. I'm going to come down on my mat, and I'm going to let my knees fall open for butterfly in this. If this is too much on your neck, you can always bring another block. And see, my block's not high enough. Now it's just right. You can always bring a towel or block underneath the head. And just relaxing. Girls, can't relax around here. See what time is it? A minute 30 in. Maybe 3 minutes here. Remember, if you have any pressure in your neck, just release. Now I'm going to slowly roll over to my left side. I'm going to take the block away from my back and lay flat. I'm going to let my knees fall into one another. Then you could just extend your legs for Shavasana, or you can come seated. I'm going to come seated like in a meditative seat. Focusing on your breath. Now you can hold this meditation or Shavasana for another 5 minutes. I hope you enjoyed your yin practice today. I know my girls were out of control. But they're my protectors. Namaste. Shanti. Y'all were so bad.